How's it going, fam? Good day. I hope everybody's out there doing well, man. I hope the whole tribe's doing lovely. I hope everybody's vibrating well. I hope everybody's copacetic, peaceful. And if you're not, I hope you're working on it. Yeah. Back with another one, right? And yeah, man, I just wanted to present some info. All praises to the Most High as I start this off, right? Yeah. Shout out to the tribe, to my autochthon, copper color races, right? My Indigenous Americans, right? Copper color Americans, right? My natural Americans, right? My autochthons, right? Yeah. How's it going, fam? Just wanted to let you know that native is you, right? That Indigenous American is you, right? Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be such a shock, but just in case it is, you know, we're here to set the record straight, right? So, yeah, man, this is for my Indigenous family, my original Americans, right? That was a part of the copper color races. We're used to seeing this image, right? But as we check out the dictionary, right? The Webster's Dictionary 1828 edition, right? American, right? It reads, a native of America, originally applied to the aboriginals or copper-colored races. Originally applied to the aboriginals or copper-colored races. Alright? We're talking about the original American, alright? That was found here by the European. Alright? So when the Euro showed up to the American soil, he found the copper-colored races as the natives of America who were originally here, alright? And you've been programmed to accept, you know, this image, but you know, we talking about you. We talking about you, fam. Right? So yeah, this is for the copper color races. This is to the fam, alright? To my Indigenous Autochthon people. My original Americans, alright? Now, we're not gonna stall too long. Just warming everybody up as we get into it. As you can see from the title of the presentation, you know, we're gonna get into it heavy. We always get into it heavy. So, yeah, I hope everybody's doing good. Hope everybody's well. We're gonna go ahead and touch on some things. This is for the whole tribe, you know. So, don't get it twisted. Especially to the nation of Israel, right? As we wake up and we start to realize this connection between this Indigenous American, right, and this biblical Israelite, right? And we're building real strong on that. So yeah, man, we're gonna go ahead and tackle this. And to the daughters of Israel, this may be a topic I mean, I don't know about it. This is not my field, but I was doing some research and I just happened to stumble across it, and I thought I'd share it with the tribe, with the fam. Alright? So if y'all know, then for sure, A1. But I just thought I'd highlight it, alright? And show a different side to it. You know what I mean? And expand a little bit. Y'all share your thoughts and y'all let me know what y'all think and how y'all feel with it. But yeah, I'm gonna just show you how I came across it. Alright? So as we touch on this Indigenous Americans, right? I just want to show people that it's originating in a particular place, right? Born in a country, right? Native, right? Sprung from the land, alright? So to be indigenous is to be sprung from the land, alright? To be aboriginal, alright? Autochthon, right? Like the bros say, right? Autochthon, right? Copper colored races. So you are copper colored because you sprang from the land itself, right? You sprang from the land itself. So we're talking about what they call black Indians, right? Of the copper colored races, right? Alright, so indigenous. Alright, to be sprung from the land. So yeah, man, this is for the fam that, that's aware of the of this ancient culture, right? Of this ancient heritage that we have, right? We're getting back to it, right? We're getting back to our roots, right? Shout out to the bro getting to the root of it all, right? Because we just getting back to the roots, right? So yeah, fam, I found something interesting, and yeah, we just gonna take it from there. I was doing some research, and as you're aware, right, as y'all do y'all research, I'm pretty sure y'all come across information, and sometimes, certain information leads to another thing, right? Another route, another journey, right? Another doorway, I say. And so yeah, technically that's what happened to me on this, right? So I was dealing with something that was referring to the headland, right? And it led me to this promontory, right? Now mind you, I'm gonna come back on a different series to touch on how I got here, right? But we're gonna basically belly flop right here, and I'm gonna show you the different direction it sent me in from this particular topic, right? So we was dealing with headland, right? Now keep this in mind, right? Because I came across promontory, and from promontory I came across this word jut out, right? And I saw right here that it meant mount or hill, right? And jut out stood out to me, and I was like, yo, what is this? I never really heard of this term. So I went ahead, right? I looked it up, and it said to protrude, right? Extend forward beyond the main body. Corruption of obsolete verb jet, see jetty. As a noun, jutting out, a projecting point. So it says see jetty, and I'm like, jetty? Alright, so let's check out jetty. Checked out jetty, right? It says appear, a projecting part, excuse me, fam. A projecting part of a building. Also a throw. To throw. See jet. To thrown out, right? Past what surrounds it. So it says to throw. Or a throw. And I'm like, a throw? What is that? So I continue to dig, and as I dig, I come across throw, and it says to project or propel, to twist, turn, wreath, or curl. It says to turn, to twist, to rub, turn, rub by turning, bore, wounded, hurt, to rub, rub away, to rub, thresh, grind, wear away, to rub, borer, right? To throw, right? Warp, right? Warp. And this right here also, stood out to me because in Israel's redemption studies, she mentions how the pale one, right? Those that are of the seed of the fallen, right? They their name originates with the definition of twisting, right? To twist, right? Their origin is to twist everything, right? And so, yeah, that stood out to me a little bit. So it made me key in, right? And I saw this warp, and warp is to throw. So I had to, basically get further, information, because this just wasn't satisfying enough. You feel me? I was like, I need more insight. So I look up warp, and it says to bend, twist, distort, to throw, throw away, hit with a missile, to fling by turning the arm, to throw. It says to lay eggs. And I was like, what? Right? Like, okay. It's getting crazy, right? To turn, wind, or wind. Sorry. Wind, bend, right? Whip, rod, right? Rod. And then it says magic wheel, and then it says to turn, bend, right? The connection between turning and throwing, right, is perhaps the notion of rotating the arm in the act of throwing, right? It says to throw, to twist out of shape, which is the verb, right? The noun, however, means threads running lengthwise in a fabric. And I said, that's interesting, right? So it says to turn, to bend, right? It says the warp of fabric is that across which the woof is thrown. Alright? And I said the woof is thrown. Warp. Alright? Warp. So it says that the warp of fabric. Alright? The warp of fabric. So from throw, right? And jetty, and jut, right? And promontory, we got warp, right? And it said right here that the warp of fabrics. So I tried to Google it, and when I tried to Google it, it gave me a suggestion, right? And that suggestion, I was surprised because I wasn't looking for it, but it fell into my lap basically, right? So the suggestion was warp faced weaving, right? I tried to put in fabric, and this is what it suggested, right? So I clicked on it, and as you can see from the images, I mean, I was kind of surprised, right? Because I'm like, yo, this looks familiar, right? Now, remind you, we started this off with what? Connecting us back to the culture of Indigenous Americans, right? as the original, right? As the autochthon, right? And this right here stood out to me a lot because it just seemed very native in origin, right? I mean, I've seen a lot of these, right? And so I said, okay, now I have an idea of what I'm reading, right? Now I see the warp and the fabric. So I was really interested, and it made me want to continue, you know, and I see the weaving part, so I'm like, okay, let's dig. So it says warp and woof, right? And it says in weaving, the weft, sometimes woof, is the term for the thread or yarn which is drawn through, right? Inserted over and under the lengthwise warp yarns that are held in tension on a frame or loom to create cloth. And I said, wait a minute, right? I was tripping out because I'm like, weaving has something to do with creating cloth, right? Now, mind you, I'm not into the hair, right? I'm not into that. So, you know, this realm is not something I'm familiar with, right? So, that's what I was saying, you know, to the daughters of Israel, right? To our indigenous women, right? To our aboriginal copper-colored women, right? This is something you guys might be aware of, right? But what I'm tripping on is the weaving part. Because I also know that the weave industry is really huge, right? And how it impacts our community directly, right? And as we are doing this journey to wake up, I thought like, whoa, maybe I stumbled across a perversion, right? I mean, maybe this is some hidden knowledge and they turned around and perverted it, right? And then sold it back to you in a perverted way, right? And this knowledge was used against you, right? This knowledge and information has been used against our women, right? So, you know, it made me want to look into it more. So, yeah, right, as we read that it's used to create cloth, right? It says warp is the lengthwise or longitude thread in a row, while the weft is the transverse thread. A single thread of the weft crossing the warp is called a pick. It says terms do vary. For instance, in North America, the weft is sometimes referred to as the fill or the filling yarn. Each individual warp thread is a fabric. In a fabric is called a warp end or end. It says the weft is a thread or yarn usually made of spun fiber. The original fibers were used of wool, flax, or cotton. Right? It says today man-made fibers are often used in weaving. Because the weft does not have to be stretched on a loom in the way that the warp is, it can be generally less strong, right? It says the weft is threaded through the warp using a shuttle, air jets, right? Or rapier grippers. So we got that jets, right? And it connected back to the jetty, right? Which to throw, right? So we kind of on point. It all lines up, right? So yeah, let's continue. It says the words woof and weft derive ultimately from the Old English word weaving, to weave. So, you know, to the daughters of Israel, right? To our indigenous copper-colored women, right? So-called black women, right? So-called Negro women, right? Did y'all know this? And if so, I mean, we're talking about the origin of clothing, right? We're talking about weaving for clothes, right? To warp, right? Which means that which is thrown, right? It says warp. Very simple looms use a spiral warp and a spiral pattern to make up the warp, right? Spiral. It says because the warp is held under high tension during the entire process of weaving, and warp yarn must be strong. Yarn for warp ends is usually spun in plied fiber, right? It says traditional fibers for warping are wool, linen, alpaca, and silk. Alright, now keep this in mind, alright fam? Keep this alpaca in mind, alright? Hear me out, keep this alpaca in mind, right? It says, most people are familiar with weft face weavings. It is possible to create warp face weavings using densely arranged warp threads. In warp face weavings, the design for the textile is in the warp, and so all colors must be decided upon and placed during the first part of the weaving process and cannot be changed, right? It says warp face weavings are defined by lengthwise stripes and vertical designs due to the limitations of color placement. It says many South American cultures, including the ancient Incas and Amaras, right, used a type of warp face weaving called backstrap weaving, which uses the weight of the weaver's body to control the tension of the loom. Alright. It says the expression woof and warp is sometimes used metaphorically as one might use fabric. Alright. It says the expression is used as a metaphor for the underlying structure on which something is built. It says warp or woof are also words found in the Bible discussion of mildews, right? Found in cloth materials. So we're talking about biblical clothing that was created from the process of weaving. Do y'all hear that? Daughters of Israel, my indigenous copper-colored woman. Let's dig, right? Let's check into this Leviticus, right? Excuse me. So it says that the garment, also that of the plague of leprosy, is in, whether it be a woolen garment or a linen garment, whether it be in the warp or woof of linen or of woolen, whether in a skin or in anything made of skin. And if the plague be greenish or reddish in the garment or in the skin, either in the warp or in the woof or in anything of the skin, it is a plague of leprosy and shall be showed unto the priest. So, I mean, here we clearly see warp, right? We see it, right? Warp. So now we know we're talking about Levitical biblical clothing, right? And if y'all followed up on the Levitical cities, I mean, you know, we're talking about some ancient cultures, right? Now, if this is Levitical biblical garment and attire, right, then we have to be talking about the nation of Israel, right? Another thing, I noticed that it said the word wolf, right? And I just wanted to check it out, right? So I clicked on it, and it says that it's basically Arab, Arab, right? Arab, right? Arab, right? And it says that This is the second form used, right, with the article prefix from H6148, right, which is Arab, right, as you see right there, right, Arab, as we know it, right, Arab. It says, or mongrel race, right, Arabia, right, mingled, people mixed, right, the multitude. Then it says woof. It just says woof, right, as in like a dog, right. I just thought that was funny, because if y'all been following up with my Canaanite series, right, this fits, right. It's amazing how the Most High, he works, right. So yeah, we got the warp and woof, right. We just read it for ourselves, right. And it was cloth materials of clothing, right, found in Leviticus, right. And we're talking about weaving, alright. It says, in hairdressing, weft is also a hairdressing term for temporary hair extensions. It can be attached to a person's hair in a couple of ways, including cornrow braiding using metal cylinders or gluing. The result is often called a weave. Alright, so, I mean, like I said, I'm pretty sure the daughters of Israel know this much, right? Or maybe y'all don't. But I didn't know the process of weaving was dealing with the creation of clothes. Especially biblical clothing. Levitical clothing at that. Alright, now we've seen this reference to North America here, right? And we also saw how they said many South American cultures, including the ancients, right, use a type of warp-faced weaving. Alright, and we just read Leviticus, right? And they also saying that it's a hairdress, right? So let's continue with it. I wanted to know more, right? And so since we're talking about fabric and we're talking about American culture, I put in Native American warp clothing, right? And I got these images. Right? And I was like, whoa. Right? Now, I'm not saying these are exact identicals, but as picture references, right? It gives me an idea. Right? So, I mean, yeah, fam. We're looking at Indigenous American warp clothing. We're looking at Levitical biblical clothing, right? As what? The American, right? Who was the native or the original copper color races of America, right? See? Right? So yeah, we're gonna continue, right? It says weaving. Right? It says weaving is a method of textile production textile production, in which two distinct sets of yarns or threads are interlaced at right angles to form fabric or cloth. Other methods are knitting, felting, and braiding or plaiting. Weaving, right? Braiding or plaiting, or to form a fabric or cloth, right? It says the longer two threads are called the warp and the lateral threads are called the weft or filling. Weft or wool is an Old English meaning that which is woven. The method in which these threads are interwoven affects the characteristics of the cloth. Cloth is usually woven on a loom, a device that holds the warp threads in place while filling threads are woven through them. A fabric band, which meets this definition of cloth, can also be made using other methods, including tablet weaving, backstrap, right, or other techniques without looms. Alright, so not only are we talking about hair, right, and the style of it, but we're talking about ancient indigenous cultures, right? We're talking about biblical Israelite cultures, right? We're talking about clothing. I mean, I need some Israelite clothing. You feel me? I need some clothing, man. What's up? Notice right here, right? It says beating up or the battening, where the weft is pushed up against the fell of the cloth by the reed. Alright? Now, we know how the Israelites have a strong connection with the reeds, right? I think, Teach Me to Be Priestly dropped something on that a while back, right? It says the principal parts of a loom are the frame, the warp beam or weaver's beam, the cloth roll, apron bar, right? The heddles, and their mounting, the reed. Right? So this reed was a huge factor, right? It played an important part, right, of this weaving process, right? And we see right here we got the different textures, right? It says women wove items at home for family use, right? It says by the end of the 19th century, weavers were simply mill workers who tended several water and steam power looms at a time, right? It says the increased speed of production brought more textiles to the average farmhouse and rendered, right, the such. It says there are some indications that weaving was already known in the Paleolithic era, right, as 27,000 years ago. An indistinct textile impression has been found at the Doni Vestones or whatever, right, site. According to the find, the weavers of Upper Paleolithic were manufacturing a variety of cordage types, produce plaited, right, or braided basketry, and a sophisticated twine and plain woven cloth. The artifacts include imprints in clay and burnt remnants of cloth, right? It says the oldest known textiles found in the Americas are remnants of 6 finely woven textiles and cordage found in the Grottorio cave in Peru. The weavings made from plants fibers are dated between 10,100 and 9,080 BCE. Bam. It says the oldest known textiles that are found in the Americas. So the oldest version of these are found in America, right? In Peru, right? I'm talking 10,000 BC. Alright? So we're talking about an ancient tradition, fam. We're talking about an ancient tradition that our copper-colored women used to uphold who they were, right? And it seems that this information has been tweaked, right? It's been twisted, right? It's been corrupted, perverted, and now it's being used against them, right? It's our job to lift them up, right? It says the Americas. The indigenous people of the Americas wove textiles, see? Textiles, right? Of cotton throughout tropical and subtropical America and in the South America Andes, right? Of wool from camelids, primarily domesticated llamas and alpacas. Alpacas. Now remember I told you about alpacas, right? I was like, keep that in mind, right? We were dealing with the alpaca, right? Where was it? Right here, right? It said traditional fibers for warping are wool, linen, alpaca, and silk, right? Alpaca, right? Traditional fibers, right? So it says the indigenous peoples of the Americas wove textiles of cotton throughout tropical and subtropical America and in the South Americas, right? Of the Andes. It says of wool from camelids, primarily domesticated llamas and alpacas, right? This is an alpaca. We're talking about Peru. Alright? We're talking about Peru. We gotta get back to where we were. It says cotton and the camelids were both domesticated by about 4,000 BCE. Alright? It says American weavers are credited with independently inventing nearly every non-mechanized technique known today. The American weavers are you, my aboriginal, copper-colored, autochthonous, indigenous, original native woman, also known as the so-called Negro, also known as the so-called black woman. This is you. This is you. Now imagine the weave industry, right? Knowing the top marketed customer, right? They target you as the customer, right? You don't think they know this information about you? Half of this hair comes from who? These Gentiles and these people who claim to be you. I mean, we're talking about biblical, Levitical writings, right? We're talking about 10,000, 4,000, 9,000 BC. It says American weavers. Don't get it twisted. American weavers are American indigenous women, the aboriginal copper-colored woman. You that press play, you that are sitting there watching this right now, they're talking about you, alright? And it's our job, right? It's our job, right? As the men, right? To uplift you in that, right? But y'all gotta give my bro some slack. They tired of seeing y'all going to that weave shop. They know this shit is backwards, alright? They know it's backwards, alright? says in the Inca Empire of the Andes, women did the most of the weaving using backstrap looms to make small pieces of cloth in vertical frame and single heddle looms for larger pieces. Andean textile weavings were of practical, symbolic, religious, and ceremonial importance, used as currency, tribute, and as a detriment of social class and rank. Look, we talking about you. We talking about the autochthon woman, the original American woman, the black woman, right? This is what you did. This is yours. This culture is yours. This weaving thing is about you. It says the oldest known weavings in North America come from the Wendover archaeological site in Florida, right? Dating from 4,900 to 6,500 BC. And made from plant fibers, the Wendover hunter-gatherers produced finely crafted twine and plain weave textiles. I mean, they snatched the culture from right up under your feet, right? And then gave you the bogus version. And they attacked you where they knew where it mattered most, right? But we're not done, right? We're gonna elaborate some more. You guys can dig on this some more if you like, right? But I wanted to highlight this part, right? So we're gonna continue. Now we were digging on the reeds, right? It says reed. A reed is a part of a loom and resembles a comb. It is used to push the weft yarn securely into place as it is woven. It also separates the warp threads and holds them in their position. Keeping them untangled guides the shuttle as it moves across the loom, right? It says modern reeds are made by placing flattening strips of wire made of carbon or stainless steel between two half-round ribs of wood and binding the whole together with tarred string, right? Historically, reeds were made of reed or cane. However, modern reeds are made of metal wires. Historically, right? Reed or cane, right? So I said, let's dig on this reed, right? And we got this, right? Known as the common reed, right? It says it is a genus of 4 species of the perennial grasses found in the wetlands throughout temperate and tropical regions of the world. Alright, so we're talking about a form of grass, right? It says that in North America, the status of the common reed, right, was a source of confusion and debate. It was commonly considered an exotic species and often invasive species introduced from Europe. However, there is evidence of the existence, right, as a native plant in North America long before Europe colonization of the continent. It is now known that the North American native forms of the plant, right, are markedly less vigorous than the European forms, right? So it says it is a native plant, right, or North America, right, long before European colonization. So the reed, right, which they said was naturally done, right, made of reeds, right, and we're looking at the reeds, right, and we're talking about the process of weaving, right, And the weaving goes back to the Americas, right? I mean, this is the weaving tab, right? And we're talking about the Americas going back far, right? Where it says the American weavers are credited independently inventing nearly every non-mechanized technique known today. Alright? So we're just talking about the indigenous woman, right? We're just talking about reeds being native to North America, right? You guys starting to feel this biblical connection now? Back at braiding, right? Now it says a braid, also referred to as a plait, right? And when we were dealing with weaving, right? It said what? Wait, is this the one? No, not this one. It says weaving, right, is a method of textile production, right? It is also done in braiding or plaiting, right? So this is how we're back at braid, right? Now it says a braid, also referred to as a plait, right, is a complex structure or pattern formed by interlacing 3 or more strands of flexible materials such as textile, yarns, wire, or hair. It says compared with the process of weaving, which usually involves 2 separate perpendicular groups of strands, warp and weft, right? A braid is usually long and narrow, with each component strand functionally equivalent in a zigzagging forward through the overlapping mass of the others. Alright, it says braids have been made for thousands of years, right? It says traditionally the materials used in braids have depended on the indigenous plants and animals available in the local area. It says when the Industrial Revolution arrived, mechanized braiding equipment was invented to increase production. The braiding technique was used to make ropes. Alright, now keep this in mind. Alright, we're going to come back to it. It says with both natural and synthetic fibers and coaxial cables, right, for radios using copper wire. Alright, and then here you go again, jet aircraft, right, and ships. So we're back at the jets. So we see how the jet continues to pop up, right? So we still connected. Now I'm going to show you guys something, because as we're talking about braids, notice they don't show nothing about the Indigenous Americans, right? North or south, right, or any of the islands. They start you from Nubia, right, all the way down to the little French girls' braids, right, and everything in between. Ancient Egypt, we got this Ethiopian dude, right, we even got the little French girl. No American, right? They'll even tell you that the oldest came from about 30,000 years ago from some spot in Austria, right? Or this place right here in France. And they'll say this is where it came from. But we dodge hijacks, right? And you see, they'll give you all of these lands, right? They'll give you all of these lands, and they won't mention nothing about America. Nowhere, right? Unless we're talking about Israelites. I'm gonna show you why. Alright? Now they'll tell us about the African people, right? And they'll tell us about the African tribes, right? As we just saw, right? Now it says early braids had many uses, such as costume decoration, animal regalia, sword decoration, bowls, and hats from palm leaves, and locks, right, such as those made in Japan to secure precious tea supplies through the use of elaborate knots, right, and weapons, and weapons, slings for example. So we know about David and his sling, right? We know about locks, right? And elaborate knots, right? It says materials that are used in braids can vary depending on local materials. See, they were talking about it depended what? It says traditionally the materials used in braids have depended on the indigenous plants and animals. Now look at how they get straight to the point when we're talking about that, right? But they don't want to tell you in big blown up detail the way they have everything over here, right? Because you are the secret. Israelite North or American Indians, right? Israelite American Indians, right? Are the secret. Watch. It says materials that are used in braids can vary depending on local materials. For instance, South Americans used the very fine fibers from the wool of alpaca and llama, while North American people made use of bison fibers. It says throughout the world, vegetable fibers such as grass, nettle, and hemp have been used to create braids. It says in China, Korea, and Japan, silk still remains the main material used. In the Americas, the braiding of leather is also common. Alright? It says their instance, right? On local materials, right? On how braids depended, right? Was South and North Americans of the indigenous people. Straight up. Alright? Now, remember I told you we was gonna come back to this part, right? To ropes, right? So let's continue. This is the word tough, and I came across this word by still dealing with headwear, right? Headdresses, right? We're still talking about hair and head, right? It says bunch of soft and flexible things fixed at the base with the upper ends loose. It says it is of an uncertain origin, right? It also means a tuft of hair. It says a kind of crest on a helmet. It says tuft summit, right? So I saw this, right? And I saw tuft of hair. And I continue to dig. And tuft of hair, right? A crest of a helmet, right? So I got Torus. It says in heralding, right? A Torus or wreath is a twisted roll of fabric laid about the top of the helmet and the base of the crest. We're talking about fabric, right? All we've been talking about is textiles and fabric, right? Textiles and fabrics, right? Right here, right? Textiles, right? Fabrics, right? Right? We've been talking about weaving, right? Textile production, right? I mean, this is what everything's dealing with, right? So it says that about the top of the helmet and the base of the crest, right? It has a dual purpose of masking the join between helm and crest, holding the mantle in place. Alright? It says the Torus is blazoned as part of the crest, right? It says occasionally the Torus is replaced by a crown or coronet, which is then termed a crest coronet. It says occasionally the Torus is replaced by a crown or coronet, which is then termed a crest coronet, right? This is what a crest coronet looks like, right? Now, they said that this is occasionally, right? This crest coronet, right, is occasionally replaced by the Torus, right? Or the Torus, I'm sorry, is replaced by the crown or the coronet, the Torus. It says the Torus is also often used as a decoration on a heraldic animal, either across the brow or around the neck, right? Moors and Saracens are traditionally depicted in heraldry with a Torus across their brow. Moors and Saracens. Now, for my last series, you should know, the Saracen, right? You should be a little bit more familiar with the Saracen, right? So, yeah, right? Let's dig, right? This is a torso, or a Torus, sorry. This is a Torus, right? It says it is a twisted roll of fabric laid about the top of the helmet and base of the crest, right? Right? It's twisted fabric, right? Now you see the crown or the coronet, right? On top of the lion, right? So where are my lions at, right? I mean, if we're talking about Israel, right? This is starting to make sense now, right, fam? I mean, we breaking it down, right, fam? And we're on top of the Torus, right? So we know what this Torus is, right? And we got the lion on top of it, right? You see the crown, right? Again. And this is the way the Torus is rolled. Worn, right? It says the Torus is also used as a decoration, right? Either across the brow, right? Now, right here they put animal, right? It says Moors and Saracens are traditionally depicted in heraldry with a Torus across their brow. Moors and Saracens, right? So if you don't know about the Saracens, I suggest you go back and look at the last video before this one. It's the one directly before this one, alright? But we're talking about Toruses. We're talking about fabrics and textiles, right? Right? See that line? We're talking about Israel, right? We're talking about Judah, right? So it was normally replaced or occasionally replaced by this. And now you see what's going on. right? You see who's who now, right? You see the replacement, right? Right? Alright, let's continue. So here we have the tassel, right? It says a tassel is a finishing feature in fabric and clothing decoration. It is a universal ornament. But we know it's not a universal ornament, right? Nonetheless, it is a feature in fabric and clothing. Now, we've been dealing with weaving and processing, right? Textile production, right? And fabric and cloth, right? And we see that the American weavers are credited with independently inventing nearly every non-mechanized technique known today, right? All right. It says history and use. In the Hebrew Bible, the Most High spoke to Moses, instructing him to tell the Israelites to make tassels, right? Or in the Hebrew, the zizits, right? It says on the corners of their garments to help them remember all of the commandments of the Most High and to keep them, and as a sign of holiness. The religious Hebrew tassels, however, bears little resemblance to the decorative one which eventually became popular in Europe, especially France. Alright? So it says that it's over here in Numbers, right? Moses, right, instructed, right, the Israelites, right? So let's check it out. It says tassels on garments. Numbers 15:37. And the Most High spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and bid them that they make them fringes in the borders of their garments throughout the generations, and that they put on top of the fringe of the borders a ribbon of blue. And it shall be unto you for a fringe, that you may look upon it and remember all the commandments of the Most High, and do them, that you seek not after your own heart and your own eyes, and after which you are used to go a whoring, that you may remember and do all my commandments and be holy unto your God. Alright? So here we read that the Most High told Moses to instruct him to wear it. Right? He said, wear those fringes, right? Fringes, right? Fringes, right? CCs, right? So, this is what it says, right? Tassel, right? Hebrew form of ZC, right? So, we're just talking about fabrics, right? Israelites, right? And we're talking about tassels and fringes, right? We're talking about commandments from Moses, right? So this is the ZZ, right? It says it's specifically knotted. Now when we were digging on, what was it? Right? Was it here, I think? No, it wasn't this one. Right here. Oh, right here. Through the use of elaborate knots. Alright? It says locks, right? Early braids, right? So it said knotted ritual fringes, right? Or tassels, worn in antiquity by Israelites, right? And today by observant Jews and Samaritans, right? It says they are attached to the four corners of the talit, right? The prayer shawl, and the talit katan, right? The everyday undergarment. Alright? It says etymology, right? The word may derive from the Semitic root, right? It says to form a singular noun, this, right? Comes from the root word for flower, right? And originally meant a tassel or lock, as in the book of Ezekiel, where Ezekiel is picked up by an angel and carried by a lock of hair. And it says in English language academic text on Judaic, right, the terms is sometimes rendered show fringes. So they took the original meaning, which meant a lock of hair, and they turned it into fringes. But we're talking about a lock of hair. It says in the book of Ezekiel, right? Let's dig. Ezekiel 8:3, right? And he put forth the form of an hand and took me by a lock of mine head. And the Spirit lifted me up between the earth and the heaven and brought me into the visions of God to Jerusalem, to the door of the inner gate that looketh toward the north, where was the seat of the image of jealousy, which provoked to jealousy. And behold, the glory of the God of Israel was there, according to the vision that I saw in the plain. Alright? He said, by a lock of my head, right? And he put forth the form of an hand and took me by a lock of my head, right? It says CC, right? A lock, right? That is a forelock of hair, right? Or a lock. Here it just says lock, but they want to throw forelock right there, right? But here it says lock, right? We're going to back it up. We're going to go to Numbers 6:5, right? It says, all the days of the vow of his separation, there shall no razor come upon his head until the days be fulfilled in which he separate himself unto the Most High. He shall be holy, and shall let the locks of the hair of his head grow. The locks. Alright? The locks. Alright? So, we're talking about locks, right? And fringes, right? Lock of hair, right? Now, keep in mind, they wanted to tell you in the other one, right? They want to tell you forelock, right? But I'm going to show you why it's not forelock, alright? Now we're talking about fringes and tassels, right? It says this is a fringe. Still, we're talking about textile production, right? And ornamental textile trim, right? Textile. We're talking about fabric, right? Now, we know the Israelites dealt with fringes, right? So as you've seen, we've been dealing with this process the entire time, right? Wet, right? What have we been digging on? Weaving. Wet. right? And we're talking about, where is it at? We're talking about American weavers, right? Being credited with independently inventing nearly every non-mechanized technique known today, alright? So we're talking about these fringes, right? See on the moccasins, right? With the fringes, right? Just keep that in mind, fam. Right here we have the breakdown, right, of the word, right? The CC, right? Now you see how it's telling you forelock, right? A forelock of hair, a fringe, right? A lock, right? Now we know what locks mean, right? As indigenous copper-colored people, right? We know what that means, right? American people, right? The native, right? The original aboriginals, right? We know what that means, right? We know what lock means, right? We know what lock means, right? Okay, so they want to tell us forelock, right? This is what they want to tell us, right? That it means forelock. But this is forelock, fam. This shit right here is forelock, alright? This shit right here, alright? What is this, right? Right, what is this, right? What is this, right? I mean, this is where that weave stuff is coming from, right? That horsehair, right? I mean, look at this. Look at this shit. Right? This is where they're killing y'all, right? This is the perversion, right? This is what they out here doing to our women, right? They have our women wanting to buy these pieces, right? But look at this sinister shit. I mean, this is what we're talking about, fam. This is what we're talking about, right? So-called black woman, right? So-called aboriginal, right? My Autochthon woman, right? This is what we're talking about. But this ain't no lock. This is a forelock, right? It says a lock of hair growing just above the forehead. It says the part of the mane of a horse. Get out of here, right? We not talking about no I mean, come on, man. Look at the hijack, yo. This is where they got you. Alright? Ezekiel said, a lock of my hair, right? A lock of mine head. A lock. You can't be grabbed by that shit. Alright? No way. No way. It's not happening. Alright? The Most High ain't snatching Justin Bieber up like this. Alright? It's not happening, fam. Here's another word in the Hebrew, right? Makalakpa, right? Makalapa, right? It says braid, lock, or plait of hair. We're talking about braids of hair. Notice how the lock's there, right? Right? We're talking about plaits, right? When we were digging with the braids, right? Where was it? Right here? Right? I'm talking about the South Americans, right? Then we're talking about Where's the other one? My bad, fam. I got y'all rolling around. Well, yeah. We talk about braids, right? Locks and plaits, right? So this is where the perversion came in, right? This is where they want to sneak it. They want to sneak it in, right? They want to attack us on the hair. See? Para, right? Para. Hair, long hair of head, locks. Long hair of head, locks, alright? So we're talking about locks, right? We're talking about what they call dreadlocks, right? This is what we're dealing with. I don't know what the hell this shit is. Like, this is some Young Jock shit, right? This is what Young Jock got going on, right? If y'all been seeing his hairdo lately, right? This is what the man got going on. This is some buffoon type foolery, right? We don't deal with that. And we're talking about long hair, right? Head of locks, right? Of copper colored races, right? The original American, right? The Autochthon, right? I'm talking about you, right? Now this whole time we've been dealing with the process of weaving, right? And we've been talking about fringes and tassels, right? So if the Most High told you to attach tassels or locks, right? Then he's telling you to lock up your hair, right? As well, right? So our women should be braiding their hair, right? Locking it up, right? You wouldn't have to worry about these weaves, right? Because you will be weaving it. I don't know, fam. That's what I'm getting, right? Y'all tell me though. Because the hair is not my field, you know what I'm saying? But I don't think this weave business is y'all field neither. I think this is perverted business. And I'm just trying to show y'all a little something that I found out across this study, alright? We're talking dreadlocks, right? Said dreadlocks, also locks, dreads, or in Sanskrit, the jata, right? Or rope-like. Now, we're talking about braids and ropes, right? And we're talking about the Torus, right? And down here's the Torus, right? Now, don't this look like a braid? Ain't this a braid? The Lion of Judah, right? On top of the braid, right? Bam. So this is what we're digging on, right? So it says rope-like strands of hair formed by matting or braiding hair. Alright? It says dreadlocks can also be formed through a technique called twist and rip. So you see how we brought that all the way back from here, right? To throw. To twist and turn, right? To warp, right? To throw, right? To warp, right? To twist and turn. We also got there from fabrics, right? All from fabrics, right? We got here from weaving, right? We're talking about Levitical, biblical, Israelite clothes, right? And hair, right? Now, once again, they try to hide the American in all of this, right? They want to give you all of these cultures first, right? All over again, right? They want to tell you about Egyptians with locked wigs, right? This shit's a joke, right? Why would some mummies, right, of ancient Egyptians be wearing locked wigs, right? But y'all can put that together, right? I mean, look, they're telling you locked hairstyles and wigs. I mean, this shit's a joke, right? But y'all swear that Egypt is Africa, right? Y'all swear that Egypt is Africa. African, right? Like y'all Egypt, right? Yeah, whatever. Now it's funny because right here they'll tell you pre-Columbian Aztec priests were described in the Aztec codices, including the Dorian Codex, the Codex Tudela, and the Codex Mendoza, as wearing their hair untouched, allowing it to grow long and matted. I mean, come on, man, Mendoza, right? Shout out to King Drop, right? He's been over here with the Mendoza feature, right? It says, as wearing their hair untouched. This is what it said at the top, right? It says rope-like, right? Through a technique, right? It says untouched. Neglect. Well, they call it neglect right here, right? But it's the matting, right? And it says they did it as wearing their hair untouched, allowing it to grow long and matted, right? And we're talking about pre-Columbian Aztecs, right? Now on the other one, we saw how it went back far. Let's see how far it went back, right? Right here, look, 10,000 BC, right, fam? So they were doing it first. But see how they put you down all the way down here, right? On top of all these cultures, they bury you, right? They bury our indigenous women in their culture all the way at the bottom, right? But no more, right? See, they even give you Africa, right? Right? And then they'll tell you right here, right? It says, since the rise of the popularity of dreadlocks, African Americans have developed a large variety of ways to wear dreadlock hair. Most of the African Americans in the United States with dreadlocks were people that live in Miami, New Orleans, with Louisiana having a Creole and Native American background, in Florida with Jamaican roots. I mean, they trying to tell y'all, right? But nah, just in case, right? We're gonna, let's see, where it's at. You know what, fam? I can't find it right now. I don't want to lose track of what we was doing. But you guys see where I'm going with this, right? So I mean, yeah, man, they'll tell you, right? This is where it came from, right? Like straight up. So I mean, just pay attention, right? Because they want to hide this stuff, but we're talking about the beginning of this practice, right? The origin of this practice, and it was in America, right? This is dreads. Alright? We still don't know what the hell this is. Alright? And it's sad, because if I don't rock with the so-called black man, right? This is the first thing we get. Alright, so they want to bury you. Alright? And your culture is buried. It's hidden. But it can be found, right? It can be accessed. It is here, right? So yeah, fam, we got all of this, right, from weaving, right, and fabric, right? Which brought me to crocheting, because I remember my aunt when I was growing up, right? When I was a kid, like 10, right? She always making us a blanket, right? She made it from yarn and fabric, right? She would crochet it, right? And she said that she got it from her mother and her mother before her and her mother before her and so on, right? And it was a Mississippi thing, she said, that they would just sit out and yarn their blankets. And they'll put different patterns and, you know, make them really special and put meaning into them. And that these blankets would last forever. You know, she would just sit there and crochet all the time and she'll tell me about it. And, you know, I just remember that. You know, because nobody really does that, right? Nobody really does that these days, right? So, I just thought about it, right? And, I remember seeing her knit these blankets out of this fabric, and yeah, it'll take her about a month or two, but before I knew it, I had me an original hand-woven blanket. And then in school I would learn that this is something that the Indians practice their whole life. But back then school was trying to separate me, right, from the culture I had at home right there in my living room versus what I was learning from the textbook. And if I had paid attention a little bit more, I could have connected it back then. We were those people, right? But yeah, fam, just to evaluate on the point, right? It's still dealing with hair. Right? We gotta go back to natural, y'all. Right? Right? I promise, ladies, if you got you a real one, right? If you got your real one next to you and he support what you do, he's gonna love your choice to go back natural. Alright? He's gonna support that. Trust. We gotta leave the weaves alone. We gotta let it go. Alright? And your real one, right? Your soldier, he's gonna do what he gotta do to lift you up, right? It's his job to. If he ain't lifting you up, if he's not supporting you in this choice, he ain't real. He's not for you. Alright? Just dust him off and leave him where he at. But you gotta get back to your commandments. Alright? You being the daughter of Sarah. That's right. Daughter of Sarah. And to my bros out there being the sons of Jacob. It's our job. It's our job, right? You gotta restore the copper colored beauty. Right? I mean, we're only talking about fabric, right? Threads, right? Knitting, right? yarn, right? We're going to talk about weaving, right? And how it was used to create a cloth, right? How it was used in Leviticus, right? How it was used in hairdressing, right? So yeah, I hope the daughters of Sarah enjoyed this feature, this presentation, and this is to all the tribe. To all the tribe waking up, to all my Indigenous Americans, North, South, and joining islands. Shout out to my bros over there in the UK, waking up to this Israelite truth. Shout out to all the new subscribers, man, and to everybody joining the channel in the wave, man. It's the truth that's gonna set us free, yo. And it changes lives, trust me. It's changing mine. I'm watching mine change my family. So yeah, once again, I hope this was informative. I hope the fam can appreciate this. It's for you. Copper color races. The native of America. The indigenous. The one that sprung from the land. Talking about you. Let's get back to it. Right? Hope everybody's doing well. All praises to the Most High. Let's continue to build. Let's continue to grow. Ladies, leave them weaves alone. I hope you found his presentation very informative. Peace and love to the tribe. I'll be hitting y'all with some more information real soon. We got a lot to build on. As I said, this was just a piece I decided to belly flop into. I'll definitely present more though. Alright? So y'all have a good one. I'm getting at y'all soon. Alright?